there we go. There's the story of how my Sunday went. Did 305 miles here, coming all the way up from San Antonio, back up into my part of Texas here, and got in after dark. And there was a lot of rain out there. Let's see if I can pull it up here. All right. There it is. So, yeah, we didn't expect this rain to quite hang on this long. I figured today would be kind of dry, but a little bit of it did kind of hold back, and the reason for that is if we go to the upper level charts, let me get that centered for you. Got to get used to the old configuration here since I'm back from the trip, and there you go. You can see we've got an upper level low down in Mexico. And a lot of these upper level lows, when they're this far south in the southwestern U.S., they're a little bit harder for the models to pick up on. But there it is, and we'll expect that to lift northeastward. See that over the next day or so. So this is 24 hours from now. This is going to be Monday evening, and we're going to see this chunk of this. It's basically a shortwave. Let me draw that for you right there. And we're seeing the area of lift out ahead of it, kind of like this. So yeah, that's going to affect Mississippi and Georgia. And I just got in just like an hour ago, so I haven't really sat down to look at the dew points and all that. But yeah, I can see that shortwave going across that area Monday night. So we'll have to check on the moisture there, and maybe I can pull up a product and we'll see what's coming. Yeah, the surface map, here's what we got. Typical overrunning situation in Texas. Got the north wind coming down, and the polar front well to the south. Let's see how far south we can go here. All the way down to Mexico. Got north winds at Veracruz and whatever town this is here. So we're probably looking at the front, maybe something like that. It's funny, we tend to forget about fronts once they're out in the Gulf and past the Rio Grande, but I do kind of like looking at that stuff south of the border because, you know, they get weather there too, and it's an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the meteorology of an area that a lot of forecasters tend to disregard. So it's kind of like this new unexplored territory, I guess. I mean, look at that. We got 30 knots out of the south here. Northeast winds here. A lot of bad weather here. Probably a little bit of snow in the higher elevations. Certainly possible. So they've got a little bit of a dynamic weather pattern there. All right. So the other question is how much moisture is lurking off the south. Got 76-degree dew points at these oil platforms, so don't know how deep that is, but that's certainly some very rich moisture lurking just offshore. There's the frontal boundary. You can see 79 degrees there. So we're going to be looking probably for that boundary to lift northward as that shortwave comes out of Mexico. Elsewhere around the country, let's take a look up north, see if the Arctic Express is going, because that's going to be a factor too. And it looks like we got a little bit of a fresh outbreak coming out of the Northwest Territories. Let's zoom in on that and take a look. Yeah, that's a surge of fresh polar air. And leading edge is probably all the way down to the south, down in Montana. And we go a little bit further north, and this kind of tells us what the core of the Arctic air is looking like. You remember a couple weeks ago we were seeing a lot of 10s and 20s in Alaska, and not very many below zero readings, but that's changed quite a bit. So Alaska here, you can see in the I forgot the name of the valley through here, Fairbanks right there, minus 33, and Whitehorse, -2. But you go north of the mountain ranges in the Yukon, and we've got lots of -14, -25. So we're kind of putting this area in the deep freeze. It's radiating a lot of heat away. So all we need is some sort of impulse to kick that southward. And I'll be able to show you one good example. I just caught this one little plot way off the edge of the map here. Southeast Alaska, you see that gusting to 63. And I can see sustained winds there, 40 knots. So looks like the Bering Sea is awake and alive. Elsewhere around the country, California looking just kind of cloudy. Looks like a little bit of a westerly wind through the northwest U.S. Maybe a very weak plateau high in Nevada. Yeah, so there's kind of a very weak high-pressure area system in here, and that's probably bringing a little bit of cool weather through Idaho there. So let's check out the Northeast. Getting reacquainted with the weather now that I'm back from the trip. Looks like just kind of stagnant polar air working north. This would basically be to the west of a high-pressure area in the northeast U.S. And yeah, I can see that. So we've got basically just a high-pressure area across New England. And west of the high, what are we going to get? We're going to get return flow. So that's what we have going on there. But of course, you go a little bit further out into Texas, and the overall pattern is return flow, but there's still a little bit of cool air pushing southward through Texas there. So we're going to see that probably stop and start turning southward, I think. I'm going to check the models and see what they go for there. So that's the analysis picture, and let's look at the pivotal weather site and get an idea of the thickness, the thermal characteristics of the air mass. Have to back this up here. Okay, there's tonight's weather picture here. Let me get that centered for you. So yeah, we can see the front all the way down in Mexico, kind of like that, and it is showing a little bit of snow in the higher elevations of western Mexico there. So high pressure here, high pressure here. And out here, I think we've probably got a weak warm front generating these snows over the lakes here. So probably a bit of isentropic lift, I think. No, this is actually a cold blob here. So yeah, we're probably looking maybe there could be a warm front a little bit further west. So yeah, we'll look at the thickness lines. Is that south of the gradient? Yeah, it is. There's the gradient right there. See, for a second there, I just started looking at isobars and kind of disregarding the thermal field. So there's the warm front, and then we've got a cold front stacked back to Idaho and Oregon. And then ahead of that, you can see Lee Side Trough in Colorado. So let's check out what happens for tomorrow. So when we do the webcast for tomorrow night, okay, so there's our picture right there. Low pressure near Lake Charles, Louisiana. And we've got our warm front, just as expected, right there. And this is basically that shortwave in Mexico lifting northeast, and there's the surface reflection of that. We basically see a wave along the polar front. So that's what's going on right there. And so north of that, we're going to see destabilization and lift. And as the warm front itself approaches, the moisture at the surface will be on the increase, and we'll be looking at severe weather for tomorrow night. So if that gets going, we'll probably do a special nighttime workshop maybe and follow the situation. And then to the north, things are definitely getting active. Very strong cold front pushing out of Canada. And I can see a 1040 millibar high up in British Columbia. So there's the picture right there. And let's go forward to Tuesday. I accidentally clicked the model there. Let's go back. Okay, get that recentered. Okay. There we go. Tuesday night. System lifts out into the Carolinas, moves through it pretty quickly. Cold front is dragging something like that. And now we've got the northern cold front caught up and pushing southward through Texas. So we should see things start to cool down once again here in the central U.S. as this very cold air comes southward. Let's check out the soundings. And I know we went over that last night. And we can see that the winds, see if I can get that centered here. Yeah, you can see winds are out of the northwest at all levels. And how deep is that cold air? I can see what looks like maybe a frontal inversion right there, but this air mass probably could be a bit deeper. I would have to look at a bunch of different soundings here. I'm pulling up one for Oklahoma. Okay, so that's a definite frontal inversion right there in Oklahoma. That's up at about 7,000 or 8,000 feet. And what we do is we kind of stack that backwards towards the cold air, and we can look at these forecast soundings to get an idea of the structure of the atmosphere. So there's the frontal inversion right there. And then we go up to Nebraska, and we'll see the pattern change a little bit. Yeah, it looks like it gets really cool aloft here. So this is probably back behind maybe some, I'm trying to think of this in my mind. That's probably back behind a little bit of that tropopause folding that we went over last week. Probably got a pretty much cold air stacked all the way up to the troposphere, probably something like that. Anyway, we'll check out some more of that this week, and we'll do some cross sections. That'll be kind of interesting there. So let's get this centered back and continue with our forecast. Here's our picture on Wednesday, and we're bringing in very cold air. This is the first major outbreak of cold air into the central and eastern U.S. and even the west. So this is crossing over the passes, and we don't see that too often. If I had a ballpark it, I'd say maybe 10% of Arctic outbreaks will cross, and this is because the sheer depth of the air mass. So we're probably looking at, I don't know, probably even further south. Pretty good intrusion of cold air coming down. And you can see the 540 line all the way down to the Red River. And when you join on Thursday night, what are we going to be looking at? More of the same, more cold weather in place. 540 line all the way down to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Texarkana. Big old 1050 millibar high has shifted south, so this is a very, yeah, check this out. Cold air coming all the way down to Mexico right there. So they're going to get that too. Okay, let's bring this up to Friday. Oh yeah, I did want to run this back and see if there's any precip associated. We kind of have to watch that because you can get some isentropic lift generating with these very fast running systems. And yeah, it looks like we pick up some snow bands right there over Kansas on Wednesday midday, shifting into Oklahoma. This is going to be kind of like flurries, I think, for Wednesday night. And then that shifts into Texas Wednesday night and Thursday morning. And I can see one little smudge of, no, that's probably rain. I don't know. No, it's actually split. That looks like it's going for some sort of mix there around the Austin area. So, we're going to have to kind of watch this here. So when you join the webcast for Friday, now we're starting to see warm air advection back on the west side here. We've got lee-side troughing developing in Colorado. The high-pressure area is moving southeastward, and those always track down into the Atlantic, north of Cuba, off the Carolina coast. And as those move to the east, we get that warm air advection starting to set back up. So that allows kind of a warm-up across the central plains. Okay, so going to the weekend, looks pretty quiet for most of the country. And looks like we got a new outbreak setting up for Monday, about a week from now, and there's the leading edge of it right there, coming down into Kansas and Oklahoma. And let's see, that's not quite as strong as the last one we had. And then we're getting up to the 13th and 14th, we're generating more. Yeah, here we go. We got another 1040 millibar high across Alberta and British Columbia. Accidentally clicked on that. Excuse me. Okay, get that set back up there. Okay, so this is on the 14th. Then we go forward to the 15th, and there we go. Yeah, see, that's coming through around the 15th. We've been talking about this for the past several days, and it's definitely, it's getting into the 200, 250 hour range where the models are going to start kind of nailing it down. And it's still pretty consistent with this scenario. And it's developing some mixed precipitation in East Texas and snow bands across Oklahoma there. And looks like it's got wintry weather also for most of the southeast U.S. and even all the way down to almost Florida. So, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that too. Then we get our warm air advection starting to set back up for the 19th and 20th. And we're starting to get way out there, but this is the model bringing some more cold air southward. So we got a pattern change, and that'll be kind of exciting to look at. Some possible winter weather, and let's look at those dew points for Georgia tomorrow night, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And for that one, I'm going to want to look at the NAM. That's a regional model. And it's a little bit better with some of the mesoscale processes. And we're going to look at dew point just to kind of get a rough idea what we got coming. Starting out at 18Z there. And then, let's see, here we go. This is right now, and then tomorrow morning, and you can see kind of like this, low 70s dew points just off the coast. Then Tuesday night, Monday night, they come northward. So mid to upper 60s dew points coming northward with that warm front. And let's pull up a sounding for tomorrow night. Let's do 3Z for maybe around Selma, Alabama, or a little bit west of there. Let's try that, see what comes up. And what it gives us here is not much capping at all, really. And the other thing that we look for is lapse rates. And the lapse rates we're looking at, they're not too steep, but as we saw last week, we don't really need a whole lot of instability to get tornadic storms going. What we need is shear. And I can see we do have 30, 40 knot winds just off the surface up at 850, and we can see on the photographs, we've got a curved photograph there setting up. So some parts of the southeast U.S. are probably going to be favored for another round of severe weather once again for tomorrow night. So we'll be here tomorrow night and monitor that with you, and that'll give us something to look at. Okay, I'm going to get settled in here, and I think that's about all I got. So I will join you once again at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Go back to the usual time, and thanks for watching. We'll see you then.